It's Sunday night. The Sheffield Steelers have lifted a championship trophy. They've raised the banners to the ceiling, and Seth and I are going to look ahead to Steelers hockey on BBC Radio Sheffield on Friday. At the moment, we're not quite sure where we're going to do that from. Normally it's from a Radio Sheffield studio and a bedroom in Birmingham, but we could all be down at Ice Sheffield, where the Sheffield Steelers players will be doing their skate with the Steelers fans and, of course, doing all those skills competitions as well. So keep looking on the website for further details about that. But Seth, let's talk about the weekend. And you know what, you win one, you lose one. I don't think this weekend was about the results. It was about bringing home the trophy, bringing home the championship, and what a great week.
I don't want to say faith, but just restoring everybody with the feeling of being league champions and touching that trophy and all the rest of it that goes along with that. And I think that's one thing that the Sheffield Steelers have done this weekend. And, you know, winning, I think yesterday was important. To have collected the trophy on the back of a loss, I think everybody would have been a bit flat. Great atmosphere, plenty of people in the building on Saturday night, then on Sunday, you know, I think the hangovers were perhaps more important than anything else that was going on. And the Cardiff Devils have got a bit more of a point to prove, haven't they, against the Sheffield Steelers.
And they wanted that fifth place as well, didn't they? Them and Manchester are in the battle for that.
And they're going to be a tough team to face up in the playoffs. And for me, I think they're one of the dark horses. I think you look at the top four. If there's somebody going to break into that for the Final Four weekend, for me, my bet's on Cardiff.
My bet on Saturday was basically that after the first shift of the game, if the referee had blown his whistle, would have called the game off, I don't think anybody in the building would have been too upset, because the whole atmosphere was just about waiting for that championship. And then an hour and 15 minutes on the ice, the celebrations lasted. And I thought what a really good touch tonight was, Sunday night, was throwing the trophy into the crowd. I can't think of another sport where the league trophy would get passed into the crowd and the fans can enjoy it, because it's their trophy as much as anybody else's.
Yeah, it was good. It didn't move very quickly, as we witnessed. 3 periods to go, 3.5 blocks. But, you know, that's the thing, and that's the area where the Sheffield Steelers will win fans over any of the other sporting franchises in South Yorkshire, just basically by the fact that, you know, the trophy is our trophy, it's my trophy, it's your trophy, it's Ryan Finnity's trophy, it's Jody Lehman's trophy, and everybody will get their time with that trophy over the next 12 months. And I think that's one of the things that's quite exciting, the fact that, you know, right now it's just sat outside the locker room, and if you want your picture with it, you pick it up and you have your picture taken with it. And the same tonight, you know, people were just sitting there and they had their time with the Elite League trophy, and that just doesn't happen. You
and I are great hockey traditionalists. We love things like banner raising, and we were just so frightened. The reason the 2008 playoff championship banner hasn't been raised to the rafters before now is that when Sheffield Steelers have raised banners in the past, they're 0-6. They've never won a game when a banner has been raised. So we were all paranoid about raising it when we were chasing a league title, because we just didn't want to lose a game at home. So we left it for tonight. And I just love that whole emotion and the theatre of those nights.
Oh, without doubt. And you look in North America when they're retiring jerseys, when they've won a championship, when they've won the Stanley Cup, up she goes. Yeah. And that's what it's all about. And then, you know, next week when we come back into this building, that banner's going to be there. Next year, that banner is going to be there. When we move to the new rink, that banner is going to be there. And that's the big thing, all about having a winning tradition.
Yeah, I don't want to see those banners in this building for too much longer after the way we've been treated in the last few weeks. It'd be nice to see them in Rotherham, wouldn't it?
And I think what you see there is you see just a big thing about the tradition and the history of the hockey club. And if you're a player that walks in for the first time and you're playing in the American League or in the East Coast League, and you come to a new environment and you look up and you think, hang on a second, I know what being here is all about. This is all about winning. And it's the same for opposition teams that come in. When they come in, they look up to the roof. You do it. You can't help it. And you think, well, there's a tradition here. We're not in for an easy night. And I think that's a big thing about making wherever the Sheffield Steelers play their home. And I think that tradition has got to be taken when the Steelers move to the Yes Project.
Ryan Finity, of course, missed the majority of this weekend. He has a small rib problem, and hopefully will be back in the lineup for next weekend's game. Saturday, of course, at home here, our final league game, our final game of the season in this building against the Basingstoke Bison. On Sunday, we end the Elite League season with a road trip to Basingstoke. And before the playoffs start, Seth, it's important that the players get back into serious hockey mode. This weekend there's been lots of distractions. The championship was won. There's always just a little pull down, isn't there, after the trophy is lifted. But important that you go into those playoff games against Edinburgh or Hull on the back of 2 wins and on the back of some good form. David Matzos will want to get that message across this week, I would have thought.
Well, I think for me it's actually been longer. I think there was almost a plateau level for the Steelers about 3 weeks ago, and they haven't really been able to just knock it up that gear. And that's what we've all been expecting, just to see them, go into overdrive, if you like, in the closing stage of this season. But actually, you know, the performance at home against Coventry, then the performance in Nottingham, they weren't what you expected. Even in Newcastle, it wasn't the kind of performance from the Sheffield Steelers that we've come to love and expect from them. So I think over this week, yeah, I think there'll be a few beers on Monday night, I think on Tuesday night, but come Wednesday, it's going to be right. Okay, next weekend we've got to look at it. 2 games against Basingstoke. Although it's not the best in terms of having a real good test, you know, you would kill for a Nottingham game perhaps on that Sunday night. Where you could just really, you know, right, let's see how we're going, and really put the push on it. And then, you know, we're hoping Jeff Legui is going to be back in the next 10 days to get himself back on the ice and really give that final shove towards that playoff weekend. And the problem is that the playoff sequence really now is so short that it doesn't matter really whether you finish first or whether you finish 8th. You just need 4 good nights to win that trophy.
You do. You do.
And actually, you need probably 3 good nights if you have one really good night, and that be your home leg. And the Sheffield Steelers can't afford another night off after next weekend, but I don't believe from now they can have another night off. I think Dan Green's got to probably start one of those 2 games against Basingstoke, but then it's Jody, it's game face.
I think Jody has to start Saturday here, doesn't he? He has to finish, you know, because there is talk about Jody going to Europe, he has to finish his Sheffield Steelers home career here on Saturday, and then if Greener wants to play in Basingstoke, happy days.
Yeah, and but I think the Sheffield Steelers have got to knock it up that level next weekend, and then I think, because you can't switch it on. No. You know, playoff hockey is something special, but there's no way you can walk into that building at Ice Sheffield for that first leg and, you know, don't take this by any stretch of the imagination that whoever the Steelers play, it's going to be number 8. We're expecting Edinburgh. They're going to come in because they know the Steelers have been riding on a high. They know the Steelers have had a few beers. They're going to come in with everything they've got, and one poor period could cost you your whole playoffs, and nobody wants that.
One final point. I spoke to Rob Wilson on Sunday morning, just before our game here against the Cardiff Devils. Rob Wilson says, I always thought the Sheffield Steelers would win the league championship, but David, I'm telling you now, they won't win the playoffs. Is Rob Wilson right, or is this team good enough to win the playoffs as well?
Of all the coaches in the Elite League, I believe the guy that reads hockey the best is Rob Wilson. When you talk to him and you hear what he says about all of the teams, I think he's the guy that perhaps reads it better than anybody else. When he talks about the Sheffield Steelers, I think he's got a very accurate reflection of what this team's all about.
What does he mean then about us not being good enough to win the playoffs, but being good enough to win a league?
Well, the comment that Dave Matsos has made throughout the whole of this season is, we are not the best, you know, individual players. We don't have the superstars, but we have the best team. We have the team that will consistently get those victories, and I think that's what Rob's talking about. Have the Steelers got that superstar in a 0-0 game that is going to break the game? Probably the Steelers' superstar is Jody Lehman. If there is anyone on this team that you're going to look at and hold him up and say, well, he's your guy, it's probably Jody Lehman. But you need more than just Jody Lehman to win the playoffs. He'll get you very, very close, but you need somebody to put those points in. Now, the question that I will throw towards it is Robert Dowd perhaps that man? You know, it's a big ask on a very young and short career. I think you may look to perhaps your defensive units. You know, is there anybody there? Rod Sarich can skate with the best of them, and he can create more than perhaps any other defenseman in the Elite League. But for me, Joey Talbot is that guy. You need a goal, you can go to Joey Talbot. That's why he's the leading goal scorer. I believe the Sheffield Steelers will make the Final Four. I think the form of Jody Lehman will, in the end, be the difference of the Steelers winning the playoff title for a second successive year, or whether the Sheffield Steelers don't quite manage to get that second high. Okay, thanks, Seth. We're on BBC Radio Sheffield, 7 through till 8 o'clock on Friday evening. Please join us then.